Everybody, it is Friday, and you know what that means. It's getting close to football weekend again. I'm your host, Mr. Moohead, and for the next however long I can sit here and stand it, I am going to be talking about this week's game, the Browns and the Giants, being played at our own Huntington Bank Field. I hope everybody is doing well out there. This is interesting. I love this. It says a premium account on Twitter is required to create live broadcasts on their platform. Please upgrade to a premium subscription or stream to a different destination. And you know what I say? Different destination. There's Topo Gigio, the mouse. How you doing, man?
I was waiting on StreamYard and you weren't there. And you popped up on YouTube and I re-clicked the link and there you are.
Yeah, there I am, just like that.
You're looking very sharp though, very, very 4K, 1080, whatever.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we're doing good that way. I'm trying to get myself ergonomically set up at the desk.
Ooh,
my back has been giving me such tremendous difficulties. You have no idea. And I just can't get away with it anymore. So I've been going through tutorials on the internet on the proper way to sit at a desk. And so I want to do this now because
had that at my work. We actually had the tutorial and we had everything lined up and everything.
That's the way.
Exactly. That's the way it should be.
Hey, Christopher Milton. Yeah, how you doing, buddy? Oh man.
Yeah, those Indians.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, we're happy campers in Northeast Ohio right now. Clinched a playoff spot, and now going to take a bigger bite of the apple and see if we can have the best record in our division, and then
in our league.
And then that's right, in the American League. So it's like I keep saying, and I posted this on Twitter, who will not let me stream to them now because I'm not a premium member. I will be goddamned if I pay those people for the sheer misery of things. It's like, yeah. So no, that's why you're not seeing the stream any longer on Twitter like you did for all these other years, is because of the sheer greed of people.
Correct.
I'm just doing this for nothing. I'll be goddamned if I'm going to pay for them. I'm not paying for Facebook, and I'm not paying for YouTube. To hell with those people. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, we're going to see what we can do. We're in St. Louis immediately. There's no time to rest. You got to go out and keep doing things. And I'll tell you, we crushed the Twins' soul.
Oh, the Tigers might pass them.
Well,
knock them out.
That's what they have to really look out, because they've just run out of gas and their bullpen is not good. And they have Duran, who hasn't had an outstanding year.
No, not since the Rio album.
And then Jax, who is their best statistical pitcher, was the guy who gave up the big 2-run shot to Manzardo. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's tough. If you're them, it's tough. I'm going to straighten out this monitor, too, because that isn't helping me one iota. All right, there we go. I have to be looking straight forward, you know? And this thing, too.
Look like you're looking up a bit. You should be looking slightly down.
Yeah.
I think your camera's a little...
Yeah, right now I'm looking straight ahead of me. I'm not looking at the camera, and you can't really tell. I kind of doing my Susanna Hoffs Bengals thing. Walk like an Egyptian, and just looking at anywhere else. But now, if I were looking like this, I'd be looking right at the camera, and I'd be Crazy Eyes Killer, It's like, I want to crush you. I'm not so sure I want to do that. So at any rate, yeah, I'm real happy with the Guardians. I mean, who would have suspected? I picked them 70 and 92.
No.
I figured a first-year manager, things
You know
wouldn't
what
be.
isn't fair, though, is that the Royals and the Twins and the Tigers, they've all gotten fat on playing the White Sox, whereas teams like the Orioles and the Mariners and the Red Sox and all them, they didn't get to play them so many times. So
Yeah.
it's not fair.
The thing that's amazing is we didn't have a good record against the Royals this year. We didn't have that good a record compared to other people against the White
Sox. Yeah,
but we've won twice as many games at home as we've lost, and that's been a very big part of this. So, yeah, I saw this too, Amsterdam, that it's both of his feet. And, what can I tell you? It's both of his feet. It turns out that he had a double foot surgery when he was a younger lad. And this may be the thing that comes back to haunt him. Not Superman after all. But it's more than one guy to get the job done. And we need as much help from others as we possibly can. So, and Rick May is right up to date with the latest Austin Hedges stats, which put him at 153.
Sell, Mortimer, sell.
Oh, my God. Austin Hedges.
Oh, we love him now.
He's the one who makes you hedges your bet on the Guardians. And Bo Naylor, isn't exactly knocking them dead either at home plate. What's really funny? We traded Yanier Diaz.
Yandy Diaz.
No, not Yandy. Yanier.
Oh, the other Diaz. There's so many Diaz. There's Bo Diaz. Yeah, there's thousands of them.
We traded him to the Astros. That's how we got Miles Straw, folks.
Oh, that was a great trade.
The last 2 years, this year he's hitting 298. He's hitting 16 to 20 home runs a year and hitting 290 or better in his last 2 seasons, and he's throwing runners out to boot.
Wow.
I don't know what it is with catchers and the Guardians. We just, ever since Carlos Santana went away, we haven't had a guy who can hit a ball in the fair territory. Very, very strange.
I'd go back to Victor Martinez, actually.
Oh, yeah. Victor was,
but anyway.
But, I like Carlos Santana. I feel bad. He's on the Twins, and the Twins are disappearing, and Tony the Calf is disappearing, and he comes on once, but he didn't want to have to answer for either of his teams, but especially these Twins. What a disappointment.
He might have a job, so you never know. He could actually be working.
I know. I'm just talking trash, man. Christopher Milton, how are you, my friend?
I'm fine, sir. I just popped in because I wanted to know, do you like this shirt?
It's a very nice shirt.
Yeah, why don't you swivel over a little bit?
It's like Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, it looks like the skyline, the Cleveland skyline.
Or no, it's
the state of Ohio, made like a baseball, but it says Cleveland. Because I can't find anything that says Indians. So, all right, how about that one?
Yeah, it looks like the shape of the state.
It is the shape of the state.
But it's in baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, I see the seams. I get it now.
Yes. Right.
I thought you'd had open heart surgery. I'm sorry. That's a baseball seam.
Wow.
No, that's the best shirt I could find. They don't have any Indian shirts anywhere, so
no.
I mean, I'm sure they have them somewhere. I just can't find it.
You gotta get them on eBay or something.
Rick May, if you remember John Romano as a catcher for the Indians,
Romano,
you're way too old, dude. You're archaic.
That's prior to Duke Sims, I believe.
That's prior. I had a 1959-1960 baseball card when I was a kid of John Romano.
Wow.
Yeah, wasn't worth a penny, but what the hell? You know how much it cost me? Whatever time it took to cut it off the back of the cereal box.
Wow, John
Well,
Romano.
you know what? I still have an Indians cap with the Indian on it for the emblem.
Well, that's nice.
You know, yeah,
There you go.
I just have it put away.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like anything else. Sometimes you just don't fight this
Things
stuff.
move on anyway.
Yeah. So at any rate,
Yeah.
let's get on to the thing. We've given the Guardians their just desserts, and now we're going to move on to the Browns. So we know who we're playing. It's the New York Giants, and it did not practice today. Nick McLeod, he is going to be out. He's a defensive back. Offensive linebacker Brian Burns, Darius Muasau, inside linebacker, a defensive lineman Raheem Nunez Roches, an abdomen,
That's
and
a great name.
Kayvon Thibodeau. They're limited, and those are the guys who are not going to make it for them. So it appears at this moment. The Browns, may not be in much better shape. They've got some people missing as well. And we got the questionable again. And that makes me worry. Questionable would be like the guys who haven't played so far, who keep saying are questionable. Conklin and Jedrick Wills. And I just don't want to see Hudson on the field,
No.
You know what I would like to see?
What? What would you like
I'm
to
going to
see?
do an inversion here. Hudson in the Moscow.
Wow.
It's an inversion of the Robin Williams movie. I would like to see him move to Russia so that we would not have to see him on the football field again.
Yeah.
Well, Miles hasn't played in 2 days or practiced in 2 days either.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, we're fucked now. Somebody's picking the Browns.
No, he's got to play. He's got to play.
Yeah, Michael Seeley, man, you're jumping the breeze.
Brave.
Holy cow! Yeah, you're early. You haven't even listened to what we had to say, and you're just all in, man. Because we're playing Brian Daboll and the Giants.
He's already jumped the shark.
God, it looks like Daboll must be the shit in my eyes. Terrible head coach. Terrible. Terrible. The Giants head coach Brian Daboll said the following: Garrett is one of the best ones in the league. They've lined him up in a variety of spots. He's explosive. He's strong. He's powerful. He's got 2 club feet. He can run. He takes the ball away, but he's hobbling like an old man. I'm just adding my own little things.
Me, huh?
And so they're all blowing smoke up, Miles' ass. That's the way it works. And it is funny. Yesterday's Jets game, and you got to see Aaron Rodgers do what he was supposed to do. Of course, he was doing it against nobody. All right. And you got to... And don't you see what Jacoby Brissett is? Yeah. He's just like a placeholder.
He's a nice guy. He's like an interim manager.
Really good guy. He's a placeholder for whoever is going to be next. And they don't know who's going to be next.
Yeah, but he wins 1 and he loses 2. So he's right on schedule.
That's exactly right. That's and he will never take much of a chance throwing the ball down the field. He will always go underneath, try to minimize mistakes, but he's playing with a team that has no offensive line, no offensive concept, who has no idea what they're doing. And
you should be used to that by now.
It is really, really ugly. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers looked as good as he did had something to do with the fact that he was playing against a team that didn't know what it was doing. But it was nice seeing Rodgers do well. And I'll tell you, the Jets already had a pretty intimidating defense because Salah's a defensive guy. If they get their act together offensively, they're going to cause some problems for some people because they've got a real vivid defense there. That's for sure. And there you go. Rick Mays predicting that Daniel Jones was a man, was a big man, will outdo Deshaun Watson in ineptitude. Thank you.
Say that really fast. In ineptitude. That's very hard.
I don't understand, Amsterdam. Are you saying, well, how did he fight the gravitational forces that would crush any other normal human being if he was
correct on Jupiter?
If he went to school in Jupiter?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I don't get it, but whatever, So
you're well aware of Jupiter, Florida, aren't you?
Oh yeah. I've been there, I tried to have sex with Lonnie Anderson there, but Burt Reynolds was having none of it. That's what he lived there. He lived in Jupiter.
Hey, so Moo, I have a question.
Yes.
So Baltimore goes into Dallas, right?
That's what's going to happen.
Baltimore or the quarterback for Baltimore has never lost 3 in a row, right?
So it would seem to go 0-3 would be absolutely enough to put
abhorrent.
It would put Joe just ready to go.
Well, what I'm saying is Lamar has never lost 3 in a row with Baltimore, correct? He's never lost 3 in a row. So now you're going in Lamar. Lamar has never lost 3 in a row with Baltimore.
Right.
Not when he was starting quarterback.
Right.
So that's a dilemma because I don't think Dallas is that good anyway.
Well, I think Dallas started feeling so good about themselves. And I think this is a problem with the organization. The organization has this history of being the NFL team, America's team, and all of this stuff. But to be honest with you, I mean, they beat the shit out of us on our home field. And I think they went in feeling a little too good about themselves. And they just got ass whacked. And nothing was worse than Derek Carr doing the Michael Jackson dance after he sneaked the ball in, where he grabbed his crotch after he got up. Yeah.
But we didn't have our tackles at all. So Dallas, if they get to lead, they're front runners. They cannot come from behind. I just don't see it.
I think I'm making a good point there.
Yeah, it would be hard to believe that with all the preseason hype and the hype of Lamar Jackson that they would go 0-3. I'll agree with that. But Dallas is notorious for starting seasons out well and then finding a way to screw it all up in December. That has been the history of that organization. So I don't know.
I got a question.
Well, my question was, do you think Baltimore will go 0-3 with Lamar for the first time, or do you think Dallas will fail again?
No, I think that here's the issue with Dak Prescott. He just got paid a big amount of money, and he's going from facing, and I don't know what in the heck happened to them against the Saints. I don't understand how they made Derek Carr look like a hero like this. But it's hard for me to fathom that Dak Prescott is going to have an easier time against the Ravens defense, who know they have to win and will be in late hit mode and injure the opposition mode.
Yeah.
And, he's going to earn his money. Let's put it that way. Dak Prescott is going to have a big challenge on his hands. I think that the Ravens will win. All right. But I would have said that the first 2 weeks too. Right. So who's to say?
So what does that say about the Las Vegas Raiders that gave him away?
Well, I mean, there's a few things that are happening. with the Ravens, and it's an unusual thing. But they lost some veteran offensive linemen. We are so bemoaning our situation on the offensive line that their problems we don't discuss. But that is a problem, and they are not. Let's just say they don't have a running back that is a consistent running back to run behind the kind of questionable younger offensive line they have. And if they're hoping that Lamar Jackson is going to become the downfield thrower that they're hoping he would be, that I don't think that's logical, because he's not a big downfield thrower, and it's going to put him in a situation where he has to run the ball more, which he's prepared to do physically for as long as he can until he gets plowed and hurt. So to me, the Ravens, we don't hear about their problems because, all we hear is Lamar Jackson's Superman. But they don't have the go-to running backs that they once had. They don't have the offensive line that can really construct long drives that allow the offense to be on the field, that gives Lamar Jackson choices as to whether he's going to scramble, whether he's going to throw short passes, or take the every so often shot down the field. He doesn't have that luxury this year. So they're caught in between, and they have been caught in between, but this year it's worse because they've gone through, this change in their offensive coordination where they went to we're going to restore our running game, but they don't have a running back to do it now. So,
they can't open the holes.
No, it doesn't look that way, nor do they have anybody who can hit the holes particularly quickly or accurately. So, as for the Browns, Conklin is still questionable. Wills is still questionable. Njoku is out. But the word about Njoku is that they're not counting him out for the following week. I don't expect to see Njoku until 6 weeks. On the 4 to 6 week, it was a high ankle sprain. They're not reporting for sure that it was a high ankle sprain, but I think everybody knows that it was. And Pierre Strong is out. I have no idea what the deal is with Pierre Strong, except he doesn't heal any quicker than Jedrick Wills does. And he doesn't.
Strong.
Now, I was going to point something out about the fact that Pierre Strong is injured, which is giving Deontay Foreman an opportunity. And this is what concerns me. This is in an interview with the Cleveland media, okay, with the Browns website people. Deontay Foreman says that he wants to be looked upon as not just a short yardage, slam into the line, Kareem Hunt at the end of his career kind of running back, that he wants to be seen as a more versatile running back, like a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield, who can actually have some explosion and get into the second level, and can fumble on the 1 yard line and fortunately fall on top of the ball. The problem is, here's the way he expressed it to clevelandbrowns.com. I think that's something that I just want to put out there on film. Now, what in the hell does that mean? That means he wants to show somebody else that he can do this, 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 and this, which means he doesn't want to be in Cleveland because he doesn't want to be a short yardage running back. And he still has dreams after being injured so many years. He still has dreams that he can be this versatile, big running back who can do a bunch of different things. I don't want guys talking about what they look like on film toward other people who are watching it during the course of the season.
But remember, I told you the Browns should have signed Hunt, and you said no.
That's what I said, and somebody did,
Kansas City did.
And
well, I'm just saying they thought enough of them to bring him in because they lost their running back.
They lost their running back, and they knew they were able to go to somebody who knows the scheme. But you see, again, the Kareem Hunt that I saw was late hitting holes. He wasn't the same player that he was, and
I agree.
he was muscled up. I mean, if he barreled forward, he would get you the short yardage situation. But he didn't have that wiggle that he used to have, and he wouldn't be able to throw a woman nearly as far now as he did back then.
No.
Okay? I got you there, Christopher. You know, you never see a cow coming. That's the thing. He just
don't want to see a cow coming, basically.
I'm just wondering if they're going to name a grill after him if he becomes a great running back for Cleveland. There'll be a Deontay Foreman grill. Something to think about. But I don't like it when players are saying, I want to look good on film, because it's like, no.
It's obviously not a problem with us. So anyway.
As far as Amari Cooper is concerned, he realizes now that things aren't going so well. He basically said that he's concerned about his start, and that he's got to just kind of get his act together. And I'll give you the quote on this. You want to go out there and play your best brand of football individually as early as possible, he said. So this has definitely been frustrating. It is what it is, Cooper said. You got to go out there and just play your game and get back focused, lock back in, and that's what I'm looking to do. Now, I've never seen him drop passes like this before, and it looks like the timing just isn't there. I mean, the ball was being thrown to him in very catchable places. It isn't that Deshaun Watson was throwing the ball into another zip code. He's just gotten off to a bad start. His footwork didn't look good on the wet track either. So I think that the Browns came into the season unprepared, underprepared, that they didn't get enough practice in a new system. Yeah. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. And here's what Ken Dorsey said. At the end of the day, Amari is a pro. He does a great job preparing himself. It's one of those things where you just never know where the ball is going to go in the course of a game. And we're just going to continue to grow as an offense. Obviously, Amari is a big part of that. Here's the issue. I mean, if Jerry Jeudy caught 5 passes for 73 yards or whatever it was that he did, then you say to yourself, well, maybe we have a number 2 receiver. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But we don't have a consistent number 2 up to this point. Let's see, my phone is ringing. People are trying to say to me,
your phone?
Yeah, that's my phone ringing. And somebody's trying to get a hold of me to tell me something very important. But I
thought the ice cream truck was coming by. But anyway.
That's what I have it, because I salivate whenever my phone rings. It's kind of like Pavlovian. We have a situation where Amari has to understand that he's going to be double teamed, and the teams that we play are not believing that we have a number 2 and a number 3 receiver, and especially with our tight end Njoku, who is the second biggest threat next to Amari on the team. He's not playing. So somebody's got to come out and prove themselves. It's definitely hasn't been Cedric Tillman when he's been on the field. So
no,
and it hasn't been Elijah Moore either.
No.
So Cooper has to understand that we got to spread the ball around. The fact that that Joe Flacco kind of relied on him, veteran to veteran, is all well and good, and they both did a great job. But teams look at this and they look at the film and they say, hey, we got to let somebody else beat us. We're not going to let Amari Cooper at 30, whatever, 1 years of age or whatever he is, beat us. And so we have to develop other receivers and force other teams to play a defensive strategy where they start paying attention to somebody else. And then Coop can work a little one-on-one magic, and he can beat anybody one-on-one. But double teamed at his age, coming off a lot of injuries, he doesn't have the speed he used to have. It's going to be much tougher for him. We also are hearing a hell of a lot about the two safety deep defenses that some people want abolished out of the NFL because they're saying that the two deep safety look is taking away a lot of the excitement of the game. And a lot of what we're seeing, I'm seeing it not just from the Browns, all right, because it was a complaint of mine saying, oh, this is Kevin Stefanski and his 7-yard pass offense. But I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers throwing 7-yard passes the whole game yesterday and taking a shot downfield every once in a blue moon. I was looking at a lot of crossing patterns there. I've been looking at it in every NFL game that I've been seeing. I'm not seeing a lot of, even Kansas City, when I watch them, we're doing a lot of crossing patterns. There wasn't this wide open down the field thing because this cover two is making it harder for offenses to strike quickly. Let's put it that way.
Well, let's just make it Canadian football.
Yeah,
make the field wider and all that.
No, but to beat cover two, you have to be able to run the ball. That means one of them safeties got to come in.
That's exactly right. You pick your poison.
Okay.
And
yeah, if you can run the ball, they got to come in. You beat cover two.
So you tell me something. It's very early, of course. We're 2 games into the season. What running backs in the league are you hearing about, like you're hearing about Ohtani of the Dodgers or Aaron Judge of the Yankees? Or who are the prolific running backs? Because Nick Chubb hasn't stepped on a field, and neither has McCaffrey. Who are the guys who are exploding in the league? What teams really are running the ball? Because the Ravens sure as hell aren't, and that's a team that normally would. The Steelers sure as hell aren't, because they're a team who normally would be. It's defense that's keeping them into games. So, who's running the
I'll answer that.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins, but only because they played the Panthers, and that is it. There's hardly anybody else out there.
Yeah, but the problem is you don't need a running back to go for 100 yards. Okay, just like with the Browns, right? If they didn't have 1,000 penalties, they would have had 60 or 70 more yards rushing.
Yeah. Now Double P is saying Breece Hall, kind of. Yeah. Well, again, the Jets have made a massive improvement in their offensive line. And they absolutely had to, because Aaron Rodgers, he's one hit away from, the bone cemetery. So he has to be upright to succeed. But you could see that it was clearing out holes for the running backs. And I agree with what Christopher is saying. It's great to have a running back who can bust a big one. But if you can consistently just keep grinding in the clock and utilizing and getting territory, one of two things is going to happen. Either the other team's going to be satisfied with fewer offensive opportunities themselves and force you into kicking field goals, or they're going to say, well, we got to make something happen and stop the run in the backfield and bring their safety up. One of those things is going to have to happen. So far this year, nobody has been so consistent in the running game as to make that happen. And I'm not sure why that is, whether that's a change in defensive agility on the part of defensive lines and schemes of linebackers. I'll tell you one thing. I watch Koromoa play, and that guy is like, I haven't seen anything like him in Cleveland at the linebacker position, because he gets the backfield so freaking quick. It's really, and we had, in the last game we played, 7 plays that we were disrupted in the backfield for loss. You're seeing more and more of this. And the other thing is, we're seeing offensive linemen being carted off the field at a record pace, because of, getting rolled over. It's a great idea to have a mobile quarterback, but in a perfect world, if you were an offensive lineman, you'd kind of want your quarterback to be a statue in the pocket, so you know where you're guiding your guy. The second he runs out of the pocket, you've got to change directions. Everyone's going to start chasing him, and you're going to get plowed into from behind. And we're seeing more and more of that too.
And the other thing is, if the guy's in the pocket, he gets rid of the ball in 2.8 seconds. You're not having to block somebody for 6 seconds and stop them from killing your quarterback.
But the thing is, both of those touchdowns to Cooper, he may have been double covered, but Watson can't throw the ball any better than either one of those. All he got to do is catch them.
Yep. Captain Fierce is saying that Alvin Kamara, he has been very good. But I think what you saw with Dallas is an unusual situation. And I don't know what happened, whether they just were, they were giving up long passing plays to Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is not known as being a big downfield thrower. So something was fishy in that whole thing as far as just one team not showing up. Now, Barkley is having a nice return with a better team. And Jacobs is a good running back out in Vegas. He's good. Now he's with the Packers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's with the Packers now.
And but again, balance. And the one thing that the thing that I always hated about Stefanski early on in his career was that it was run the ball. And it was almost as if the people in the front office said, we're not going to even bother drafting fast receivers until the 3rd, 4th round. And if they happen to have stumps for hands, that doesn't matter because we're just going to keep running the football.
Yeah.
And there were some statistics that were very interesting, and I want to see if I can find this. I thought I had this up here. Yeah, okay, here we go. This is Kevin Stefanski's record on going for it. I don't mean I don't mean like on a first date.
Ask his
I mean fourth down and short yardage. In his first year, 2020, there were 24 4th down attempts. His next season, 29. 2022, there were 42, and last year, 32. All right. He has gone from, in his first year, 11th in the league in success to 9th his second year, 1st in 2022, and 5th last season. All right.
Wow.
So, Stefanski's always been a believer that if it's 4th and less than 4, he's going to go for it, even if it means passing up a field goal. So this is the tendency of the team. He's a ball possession kind of offensive coach, and we unfortunately don't have the wide receivers who can break off the big play when you need one. And the other problem is, and I hate to say this, but all these little crossing patterns, you never see our guys wiggle and get an extra 12, 14 yards like you see the Chiefs receivers doing. And that becomes a big problem because when you're throwing out on the flat and you can't beat a one-on-one with a defensive back, that becomes a problem. You make the first guy miss, and what looks like a 5-yard gain can turn into a 12-yard gain, and that is what tires defenses out and gives you the opportunity to run the football more successfully. So, yeah. Oh, gosh.
That's all right. I still think we'll kill the Giants, though. They can't stop. They can't stop a run, and if we get Conklin back, they should be able to run the ball.
You would think that one of the players is going to play at this point, but we come to Sunday and it's like nope, it's a no-go again.
No.
And I would not at all be surprised if they say, well, I think we can beat the Giants in Cleveland, so we're going to rest these guys one more week to make sure they're absolutely good for the next game. I would not at all be surprised if that happened. So,
well, are we picking the game now? I have strong views about this.
Not yet. Okay. Because I did want to point out that the Browns have done something that I think had to be done.
No.
That this whole Legends thing that they're honoring Phil Dawson with, that now that Jim Donovan has been added to the list, and
the Ring of Honor.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves Jim Donovan. I mean, who doesn't love Jim Donovan?
I'll tell you, they had video cameras on both ends of this phone call, and it broke my heart to see Donovan. I just get the feeling that it's going the wrong way and real quick, and they want to get this done. And God bless them. That's what they should do, because he's given his heart to the team. But that was a heartbreaker for me. And broadcasting is my first love, and sports are great, but broadcasting is it. And the guys who I've got to speak with over the years and got to meet, people like Hammy at spring training, and people that with the Cavaliers. I never had a chance to talk with Joe Tate, because Joe Tate never wanted to talk to anybody. That was the deal. It's not like I didn't try, but Michael Regai, I always looked at the the broadcasting end of things, so that and talked about that. I really have a respect for people who are good at what they do and come across and get the fans excited. And especially,
what the Browns should do with Jim Donovan?
What's that?
On this Ring of Honor, they should give him his own jersey number and retire it. Like give him like some random jersey number, like one that isn't used, like 61 or whatever, and give that to him, and then retire the number with his name. That would be what I would do with Jim Donovan.
Well, I mean, at this point, you could see there were a lot of edits in Donovan's side of the phone conversation, because I think that he wanted to cry. I really do. And this whole thing it's very sad. Double P is saying, I thought I was going to bring up Mike Hall. If his girlfriend had done that, there wouldn't have been a problem. Let's move on from Mike Hall. I mean, quite honestly, the league has got to figure out, he's settled, they got it worked out on a lesser charge, but I don't think the people on the street should feel any safer about either of these two unsavory people. And to be very honest with you, anybody who goes after somebody to the degree that he went after her, regardless of what she said or what she did, that's unacceptable. And I would be real surprised if you see Mike Hall anytime soon playing for the Cleveland Browns, because he has a history prior to coming to the NFL. It's not like this was just an unusual circumstance. His character was an issue, which dropped him down into the third round to begin with. He has the talent. He just has got a problem. And that's just, that's what I think about that. Next, we have what others are saying as far as the picks are concerned. The NFL.com all picking the Browns. But the thing that I want you to focus on here are the scores. Judge number one says 21-17. Then 22-13, then 21-9, and then 24-15. It makes me feel as if this is a matter of judging two teams by their ineptitude. that nobody is going to, that they're both equally lousy and that they're not, one is not going to pull away from the other. Now, only one of the NFL.com participants in this chose the Browns to win 30-17, but no other guesstimate of the final score had anything to do with the Browns scoring anywhere near that many points. For example, if you go over to Bleacher Report, get this. Davenport picked the Giants. Gagnon picked the Browns. Hanford picks the Giants. Knox the Browns. Michaelino picks the Giants. Moton picks the Giants. I sound like Howard Cosell. O'Donnell picks the Browns. And Snobleski picks the Browns. But there was no consensus at Bleacher Report who would win this game, except the score prediction that came out was the Browns 21 and the Giants 14. Any way you look at it, they just don't seem to believe that the Browns are physically capable. And here we go again. USA Today. Lorenzo Reyes says Browns 23-9. Tyler Dragon says Browns 20-10. Richard Morin says the Browns 27 and the Giants 12. That would be generous by what I'm seeing. And Jordan Mendoza says Browns 17, Giants 10. So what you're looking at is how are you going to win with 20 to 24 points? And you're hoping that this isn't the one odd game in which Daniel Jones actually has a good game. The statistics would suggest that that wouldn't happen. Daniel Jones, so far this year, is only completing 54% of his passes. So he's taken 6 sacks. He has a 66 rating. He has 2 picks and 2 TDs. The only thing that you want to concern yourself with, you want to pressure Daniel Jones, because when he's under pressure, it's worse. It's worse, yeah. But you want to take a look at their running game, because Singletary has a combined 132 yards. But what I look at is a 5.1 yard average per carry with a long of 22. He's averaging 66 yards a game. He's fumbled once, but he's the guy who carries the load from a running perspective. You shut down the running game, you have to force Daniel Jones to beat you. And you can't afford to give up easy first downs with a running game when you can put them in a situation where Daniel Jones has to beat you. They have one receiver who's doing most of the work, and that's Neighbors, their wide receiver, who has 193 yards this year, an average of 13 a catch, a long of 28, and about 96.5 yards per game. That's almost 100 yards a game that he's getting. But the drop-off to their next wide receiver is Robinson at 62 yards and Slayton at 59 yards. So, I mean, he has a favorite receiver because he's probably a one-read guy and he's looking at Neighbors all the time. So from the defensive perspective, you know, they have some defensive players and they have 14 sacks this year. So the Browns offensive line, they better be playing decent people out there. I don't want to see Hudson out there. I was joking earlier, but I'm dead serious. I don't want to see him out there. Because you put pressure on and, you know, then we're again, you know, 2nd and 14, 3rd and 12, and you're not going to convert with Kevin Stefanski's offense in that situation. So their defense is credible. It's not incredible, but it's credible. So the way you beat this team is by doing what you do, which is to eat up time, beat them up, tire out that defense any way that you can, and get Daniel Jones off the field over and over and over to literally wear that defense down, and so that they're forced to throw downfield all the time, that they will abandon any hope out of a running game and and it's going to take scoring points. And this is where Deshaun Watson really needs to show that he can make plays downfield, not just look at one read, not just, he's got to prove that he can do progressions in a way to pick apart the opposition like he did in the first drive of the last game. They've got to come out and build on that. So that's the way they're going to win, if they're going to win. And here's something that I wasn't even aware of. But Posich has gotten nailed for holding a few times and has been allowing the most pressure in the league. So that's the other thing, Captain Fierce. Turnovers on the part of the quarterback. Our defensive backs need to take the ball away. We need to start stripping people and getting our offense better field position, because the way we're playing right now with the unfamiliarity of our offensive scheme, the odds of going 70, 80 yards just isn't very good right now. If you can get some short fields, that can really put a lot of pressure on the Giants. And I would hope, and DJ Brobot is like, this is the kind of game the Browns would lose. Well, I mean, from years ago, that is the case. And David Talevsky with us, he says, when he gets pressured, he turns into Davy Jones.
Daydream believer.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Here we go.
Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean?
To a daydream believer.
So, what do you think? Bronk is just dying to tell us.
Well, introduce me as Topo Gigio with your Ed Sullivan voice. I shall.
Now, right here in our program, we're going to get our first pick from the Italian mouse Topo Gigio.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to say that the Cleveland Browns are going to jump out to an early 17-0 lead. They were going to get like a sack fumble touchdown bullshit type of thing and be leading 17-0 going into like the second quarter. And then what's going to happen is that the weather is going to be in the mid 80s, probably, mid 80s, all that. Our team is going to tire and get slow and fall apart. By the time it gets to the fourth quarter, the score is going to be 20-17, the New York Football Giants. And then we'll kick a field goal and send the game into overtime. And then by magic, James Prochet II will score on some wild, crazy punt return, kickoff return, and the Browns will win 26-20. But we always suck in hot weather.
I want to say something to you, Bronk.
Yeah.
Welcome to Fantasy Island.
Fantasy Island.
What in the world? I was waiting for the better part of an hour for that pick.
26-20 overtime win Browns, but we could very easily lose this game because we suck when the weather is more than 70 degrees. Every single time we have no shape. We have no...
Christopher sitting there shaking his big cow head going, man, I don't know. Well, I'm not buying this.
Kiss my hoof then if we don't fall apart halfway through the game.
Christopher, talk some sense into this man.
I don't see that.
Hey,
23-10 Cleveland.
You know my crazy picks have come true over the years, and I'm going out on a limb. I don't do the old 21-17 bullshit that everybody else does.
You're right down to James Prochet returning some kind of a distorted kick from hell into the end zone.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I predicted the Indians back then having a no-hitter one. They're going to get no hit. So there you go. And they did the very next day. So.
And Captain Fierce is picking the same total of points I'm picking for the Browns. 23, and I'm going to say 13 for the Giants. My feeling here is that the Browns defense is going to get us some help.
They are. I said that.
But here's the most important thing to me, and I'm not in the stadium watching, of course, but if they don't get off to a good start and they start jumping off sides and doing that stupidity again, the crowd is going to turn on them, and it's going to stop being a home field game. And this is what happened in our first game. We just didn't look like we were ready to play, and the fans were having none of it. The boos started in the second quarter of the game, and that is a potential problem. And, you know, Mark is saying it's 16-13 Giants. What I'll tell you is this. As the game starts, so the game finishes. This is a team that isn't used to winning, the New York Giants, and you've got to convince them that they're not going to win. And that means you got to come out of the chute playing hard football and getting up early and making them realize that they're going to have to put points up on the board in order to get up, be playing from behind from the beginning. And it's if you would have told me, Bronk, that it wasn't James Prochet, but it was but Jalen Darden who they cut, I would have believed that. But there's nothing about James Prochet that would ever believe me.
That's why it's so incredible. You're not gonna believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, come on! You gotta have a good story for these programs, otherwise, it's just boring.
So 27-13 is my pick.
I'm very serious of us jumping out to a lead and then giving it up because we will wilt in the middle of the game. No, Christopher.
If you want, what happened to Christopher?
I don't know. He's gone. He probably hit the wrong button or something.
So here's something you don't want to hear. All right.
I don't want to hear this.
If you are 2 games into the season,
I don't know.
Right. Well, get this headline: Patriots quarterback Jacoby Brissett to remain starter, says Jared Mayo. You don't want to hear that. Week 2. Good to have you back, Christopher. What happened?
I don't know. I put in 23-10. It kicked me out.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Somebody
no, but it's true.
Well, one of us. The great thing about having crazy predictions is that somebody will be right. God damn it.
There's a better chance, honestly, that we would get 50-plus points against the Giants than James Prochet returning a kick for a touchdown to win it in overtime. Gosh. And then this is another thing that you don't want to hear. After being benched, Bryce Young of the Panthers says that he's going to stay positive, and he vows, I'm going to be better. Well, you can only be as good as you are. And, I've never seen young quarterbacks, and it starts, in my watching of Tim Couch, and guys who play with bad football teams. And the Panthers would definitely qualify as a bad football team. That a young rookie quarterback going into that situation, it's hard enough. You saw Justin Fields, what he looked like playing for a bad football team last year when or a couple of years ago when he faced the Browns opening week, and he just looked shell-shocked. He didn't know where it was coming from and how fast. Bryce Young looks like a lot of young quarterbacks who are lost. Caleb Williams, the highest drafted quarterback this year, playing again for the Bears. It was bad enough that C.J. Stroud, after the game, went up to him and said, hey, don't worry, bro. Don't worry, bro. You're going to, it'll get better for you. And, of course, Caleb Williams gave him a look like he was going to behead him because, I don't want to hear this stuff from you, not after a loss like this. It's hard to be a first-year quarterback. You don't see many of them walk out and just knock out their opponents. But everybody has a ceiling on them. And Bryce Young, to this point, hasn't shown any sign that he has a ceiling of any sort that is substantial. He's short. he just doesn't. It just looks like taking a chance on a Johnny Manziel kind of guy. And some years there are quarterbacks who come out of college and they're great. Other times there will be guys like Jamarcus Russell who come out of college with great arms, but nickel heads and can't figure out the schemes that are in front of them. This is the nature of NFL football. And saying that you're going to be better, it relies on the fact that you have that upside. So,
yeah. Well, how does Andy Dalton make the Panthers better, though?
Well, again, it's a placeholder.
Yeah.
You might as well get somebody injured who's already old and been injured multiple times. That's what it boils down to. They're making money to get racked up. And for all the people who are sitting there saying, God, I wish we had Joe Flacco. Well, the Colts have him and aren't playing him. And Richardson has run them into 2 straight losses, and they don't look good, folks. That team does not look good at all. And if Joe Flacco was the answer to all people's problems, it would be happening right now in Indianapolis, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
No. Because the thing is with him, he's got a strong arm, but he's got no mobility. And if you can get a pass rush on him, he's inescapable. He's never going to be able to get himself out of trouble. And he's going to try to use that big arm sometimes to wedge the ball in places it doesn't fit. So, there's more quarterbacks drafted who don't make it than the ones who do. And, and it was funny because the whole CJ Stroud thing, that somebody, talking about how he was an exception to that. He's got to play this year, and they got 17 games, and he's going to have to prove what he's about. And up to this point, they've played 2, and they've won them both, but they've not impressed. Beating the Colts doesn't mean a damn thing. All right.
No.
There are 2 games that they've played against 2 sucker teams, and honestly, it isn't like CJ Stroud has ripped it up. It isn't like he's putting a ton of points on the board. They had to win late in games and hold on because they weren't scoring that many points. And that's after upgrading their offensive line, upgrading their receiving core, everything that Big Ounce told me about this team, but it still has to come to fruition on the field. So, I don't know about that. Somebody will lose to the Panthers just because of sheer ineptitude, I would think.
Yeah, it's hard to go. Only Hugh Jackson can go unwinned throughout an entire
That's
season.
not true. That's not true. Detroit did the same thing.
Wow. Yeah.
They were 0-16 also.
Yeah. And I'll tell you the other thing that I saw that was just insane. You've got a team, and I was in Flint, Michigan for 9.5 years, where I owned a radio station there, and I got to see more of the Lions in the 1990s, and I would have cared to. All right, and watching that football team, and they had Herman Moore, who's a great receiver. They had, of course, Sanders. They had some help on that team. Wayne Fonts was the head coach. They did get to the playoffs a couple times. They'd always lose in the first round because they weren't very good. But it was the in-between years. They couldn't put 2 good seasons back to back. And when people kept telling me, well, now the Lions are the team to look out for, this was after last year.
Yeah.
They lost the NFC Championship last season.
They did.
And which is damn good for Dan Campbell to get that thing turned around, right?
Right.
Dan Campbell just sold his house because he's being harassed. He's being harassed by Detroit Lions fans. This is a horrible thing. And it started after the NFC Championship loss.
Wow.
I mean, these are people who wouldn't know an NFC Championship if it bit them in the ass. And the fact of the matter is that they're still complaining when he gets them there and loses. So,
wow.
He's moving to someplace. and somebody intentionally leaked his home address
Oh,
on the internet so that people would go out and harangue this guy.
That's terrible.
It is hard as heck to become a better football organization and win when you have a history of losing. And it's one of the reasons why, if you can't cheer for your own team, Browns fans, get out. Stop. Go someplace else. Do what Brian did and take on the Panthers or whatever you want to do. But don't be bad-mouthing the team because you're just making this come true. You're just adding to the entire situation.
Yeah, the negativity is never good for anybody on anything. I mean, looking back at the Lions from the years that you were in Flint, Michigan, they had Rodney Peete and Scott Mitchell as their quarterbacks.
Yep.
I mean, and they stayed with them for years and years, and they were horrible.
Scott Mitchell, whenever he'd see pressure, he would just fall to the ground.
Yeah.
It was really strange. It really was.
Charlie Batch. I mean, look at these guys.
I actually went to a game in the Pontiac Silverdome, and the Browns came. Bertie Kosar was playing against the Lions in the Silverdome,
right.
and I got to watch that game, and that was a lot of fun. But the Pontiac Silverdome, you want to talk about a playing field that ripped people's knees out. That was the one. Yeah, bad news. Yeah. Bad news.
Is it still, they got a new stadium after that. This isn't like Ford Field or something, some super duper stadium now.
And you know something, Amsterdam? I spent 9.5 years in Flint. And you just been watching the old Phil Donahue shows. Everything you know is what you see, either on television or on the internet or whatever. But you'll never hear me say anything bad about Flint, Michigan, because it was very good to me. I met a lot of really wonderful people. And I stay in touch with John Kupiak, who is the guy who was Canadian American Advertising. That was a company he owned, and he did our marketing for us. Great guy. I knew a ton of people in Flint, and it was just a bad time because the laws had changed and they farmed out a different time in a different place. All of the automotive jobs got farmed out to Lordstown, Ohio, or to Mexico.
Correct.
And that's what was happening back then. Yep. And, union people who were used to making a living at the Fisher Body plant and the various plants of the greater Flint and Detroit area were out of luck. And that's what people ended up focusing on. And, there are a lot of good things about Flint, Michigan. And
there you go.
And there was a vital economy there, regardless of what people said, because I wouldn't have been able to do what I did if there wasn't. So take it from somebody who lived there. Like any city, there was inner city crime issues for sure. There were a lot of issues. The proximity to Detroit. There was a lot of gang trafficking. There was a lot of drug trafficking. But, Flint played like a bigger city because we were in the shadow of Detroit and the Detroit suburbs. So you go south of Flint, everything's good. And then you start going further south into Detroit, and you had all kinds of issues down there as well. So, and you went north of Flint, and it was country. All right. It was, you're going up toward Clio and Saginaw. There's nothing wrong with the area whatsoever. And there
you go.
It was like Binghamton, New York. When I was at Binghamton, New York, people would say, that's where IBM was born, in Endicott, New York, but things have gone to hell in upstate New York. And I'd be the first to admit, manufacturing did take a bad hit in upstate New York, but you would never meet nicer people than I met in Binghamton, New York. I love that town. And it was just the consolidation of radio industries that forced me to sell so I could make a living for myself and for my family. That was it. I was only 2.5, 3 years in Binghamton, and the roof caved in, man. It was like 3 companies were buying out all the radio stations in America. And there was no way that I was going to be able to hold on to them and succeed.
Hey, Moo, you know what I used to say about certain women, man? When I was younger, I would say, she's got a body by Fisher, but a mind by Mattel.
That's funny. That's funny. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah, the Fisher body plant. That was, well, at any rate,
I don't think he can top that.
And DJ Brobod says, before my cousin passed away a few months ago, he was working that last GM plant up in Flint. Yeah, it's incredible to say that nothing left. Nothing left up there at all. And that's what bothers me. And it's the last thing I'll say, and I got to get out of here, is that we talk about what we talk about through the eyes of people living in 2024. I was watching politicians give away American jobs overseas, and big companies like General Motors, big companies that were making all kinds of money, and the important thing to them was to shut the unions down, and that unions became a dirty word. And this started out in the mid 80s. That's what Ronald Reagan
and the Patco strike.
Bust the unions. And, you can make your cars cheaper in Mexico. Now, of course, there's a very different view about Mexicans, and people are wondering, why are people leaving Mexico? And it's because, for the same reason that workers were starting to starve in Flint, because they didn't want to pay anybody, so they shut down the unions. And when they started doing all the car plant stuff down in Mexico, they didn't want to pay them shit either.
Correct.
So you got a poverty issue that forces people across the border. And that's one thing that hasn't changed, is that the wealthy get greedier and they want more and more. And it's unfortunate. And I lived in these cities, and good people lost their jobs. And, that now in some instances, we ran into funny things in Flint about people signing out work and going to their bowling leagues saying that they would work that night at the plant. The unions were corrupt. Make no mistake about it. There were problems, but you can't just take a bunch of people who are skilled trade workers for one industry and say, well, you got to go and find something else for yourself. Go to school.
Yeah, when you're in your 50s or late 40s, you're
just
fucked.
wiped out the town. It was
you're
just
absolutely fucked that way.
Yeah, too bad. Well, at any rate, thanks everybody for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Hey, we got the game on Sunday. Got a game tonight with the Guardians. We can see if we can get one game closer there. And let's keep our fingers crossed for our Browns that we have a good game on Sunday. And I will be here at the half and after the game, as I always am. Thanks a lot for tuning in.
James Prochet.
Yeah, that's right.
Hero.
If Prochet were to ever do that, and I'm saying not just if he did it when you picked him,
game-winning kick return,
it would be bizarro world. But
it would be.
Let's hope that
you'd have to fly over and kiss my hope in person.
Whatever it takes to win, just win, baby. That's the name of the game. Christopher, thanks a lot for coming. In my heart, man, in my heart, I want you here. You know that.
I got it.
Good people are good people. All right. And I don't let people chase away good people. And I step out of the cow suit and I become who and what I am. So thank you for giving us a chance. I appreciate it. And Bronk, as always, and everybody out there, thanks for supporting the program. And we'll see you on the weekend. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.